Heading into 2002, Marvel Comics' Incredible Hulk title was entering kind of a strange place.
The 90s had been dominated by writer Peter David's unprecedented 12-year run on the book from 1987 to 1999. Not too long after David left, the book was relaunched with the creative team of John Byrne and Ron Garney. Beginning in issue 12, writer Paul Jenkins jumped on for a fairly well-regarded run after that.
Jenkins would leave the book at issue number 33, and with a major Hollywood blockbuster being directed by Ang Lee due out the next year, Marvel felt the need to reposition the Hulk as a major player in the Marvel Universe. Enter writer Bruce Jones.
Jones was an industry veteran, best known for his work on Warren Publications' horror anthology books Creepy and Eerie in the 1970s.
Jones's run on the Incredible Hulk would be unique, to say the least. And today we're looking at the first part of that run. This is The Incredible Hulk, Return of the Monster.
Bruce Banner arrives in St. Louis, Missouri. He keeps a very low profile, even going as far as to grow his beard out. He rents a small room in a digi motel and looks up his email. He has a message from a Mr. Blue telling him to check back later. Bruce begins a meditation procedure, turning on a metronome and focusing on a beach with a beautiful woman. As Banner tries once more to quell the beast within, a TV reporter explains Bruce's predicament. During a Hulk rampage in Chicago, a 9-year-old boy named Ricky Myers was crushed by falling debris on camera. Bruce has always been on the run from the military, and now he's on the run from the feds. After the report mentions Bruce being spotted in St. Louis and having a beard, Bruce elects to shave his hair. He then receives a message from Mr. Blue advising him to keep laying low. That night, Bruce wakes up to find Jerome, a troubled teen Bruce had seen arguing with his mother earlier, making off with Bruce's laptop and wallet. Bruce tells Jerome he can keep the wallet, but he's going to have to leave the computer behind. He tries to reason with Jerome, who it turns out is actually an honor student, but he's slowly succumbing to life on the streets. But the kid has heard the spiel before and just leaves with absolutely nothing. The next day, Bruce notices Jerome being hassled by a group of hoods about some sort of package. Bruce tries to intervene, but then chickens out to avoid detection. Afterwards, Bruce tries to apologize and reason with Jerome once more, only to be rebuffed again. That night, Bruce receives a message from Mr. Blue saying that things have settled to the point that he can start moving again. He elects to do so, but not without confronting Jerome's employers. He finds them in a nearby alley and remembers his meditation as he prepares for a fight. The next morning, Bruce hitches a ride with a trucker halfway to Kansas City. Bruce is sporting a black eye and a comfy new parka that he got from his friend in St. Louis. A friend who comes to with a metal bean wrapped around his neck, and all the man can make out is, "Oh."
You may recall that in my review of the Daredevil storyline Underboss that Marvel tried a sales gimmick called Nuff Said, in which an issue of a comic book would be released with no dialogue. Well, no spoken dialogue. And, well, we're now about to hit the Incredible Hulk's Nuff Said issue.
Bruce stops by a small roadside diner for a bite to eat. It's there that he catches the attention of a young girl. Bruce notices the girl's mother carrying several books on raising a child with autism. He puts two to two together. Bruce then receives a message from Mr. Blue saying that 2 agents from Home Base are in the area. The 2 agents arrive to find their quarry has slipped out the men's room window. He hasn't gone far, though, and the agents catch up to him and take him down with a tranquilizer dart. Banner begins to come to in the back of a car. He starts to remember his meditation, focusing on the little girl from the diner. He changes into the Hulk and is soon free. Bruce then returns to the diner featuring a spiffy new suit.
We now return you to your regularly scheduled comic about a guy who turns into a giant green monster whenever he gets angry.
More new reports about Ricky Myers' play as a death row inmate named Sandra Vertigo sits down to her final meal. She's soon given the lethal injection, and her body is picked up. As this is happening, Home Base enlists some additional help in locating Doc Banner, in the form of Doc Samson.
Leonard Skavorsky Jr. was a psychiatrist who willingly exposed himself to excess gamma radiation that had been siphoned off of Bruce Banner. This blessed Skavorsky with super strength. It didn't turn him into a Hulk, though, as he actually maintained a lot of his mental faculties. Skavorsky would rechristen himself Doc Samson after the biblical hero and go on to become a sometimes rival, sometimes friend to Bruce Banner and the Incredible Hulk.
At first, Samson isn't interested, but then one weird mention that's off-screen seems to pique his interest. Meanwhile, Banner receives a word of warning from Mr. Blue, and Home Base picks up another insurance policy in the form of an assassin named Slater. The next day, Slater meets his partner for the assignment, Sandra Vertigo. She's still alive. Slater really wants to work alone, though, but Home Base says no, and gives the two just 5 days to locate Banner. Meanwhile, Banner has been picked up by a motorist named Rick.
I know what you're thinking, and no, this is not longtime Hulk companion Rick Jones. It's just a naming coincidence.
Rick's car tries crossing a small wooden bridge, which soon gives way. A sheriff who is patrolling the area tries to help Banner pull Rick to safety, but Banner, spurned on by memory of Ricky Myers, begins to lose control. The cop manages to pull Rick to safety as Slater and Sandra arrive, as the two and Samson are actually using the same technology to track down Banner. The two are greeted by the Hulk chucking Rick's wrecked car up into the air, which then lands on the hired gun's vehicle. When the two regain their wits, they find that Banner has given them a slip.
I'm guessing that you've probably noticed what the main criticism of this run is known for. That there's a decided lack of the Incredible Hulk in, well, the Incredible Hulk. And, well, there might actually be a reason for this. I've read several theories online that seem to think that Bruce Jones may have been taking a lot of his cues from the live-action Bill Bixby, Lou Ferrigno Hulk show from the late 70s and early 80s.
The show had a pretty standard formula. Dr. David Banner would enter a town where you encounter a person whose plight was the main thrust of the episode. There would be 2 Hulk transformations, one at the end of the first act, and 2 at the episode's denouement where the villains would be defeated. Afterwards, Banner would say his goodbyes to the character and move on. Cue the Lonely Man theme.
Anyway, back to the story.
Sandra and Slater then kill a couple passing by, steal their clothes and vehicle, and take off after Banner. Unbeknownst to the 2 hired guns, the people they just killed are also agents of home base. The 2 resurrect themselves, kill the sheriff and his deputy after they take Rick to the hospital, steal the clothing of the officers and their vehicle, then take off after Sandra, Slater, and presumably Banner. Slater and Sandra are at a nearby diner expecting Banner to pop up, as the Hulk has probably drained his energy. Sure enough, Banner pops up, and Sandra starts flirting with him while trying to spike his drink. This gets interrupted by a disguised Doc Samson. Samson warns Banner about the drink, explaining that Sandra Vertigo was on death row for killing her child, but not exactly how he knows this. As the agents pretending to be the cops also arrive. Knowing that they're going to need a distraction, Samson decks Banner, initiating a Hulk transformation. Slater moves to shoot Banner before he can become the Hulk, but ends up shooting Sandra as she tries to interfere. Hulk begins wreaking havoc, knocking out cops and tossing Samson out into a nearby field. Samson comes to in the field and finds Banner's laptop, which contains an email from Mr. Blue. Samson is then blindsided by a very large tree branch wielded by a still-living Sandra Vertigo. Sometime later, the Hulk is storming through a forest until he happens across a small cabin. The cabin's occupant invites the Hulk in. The occupant then switches on a metronome, revealing herself to be Sandra Vertigo as she replicates Banner's meditation ritual to calm him down. It works, though she admits to having a little bit of help. See, she knew Samson was going to warn Banner about the drink, so she actually used a spiked ring to drug him. Sandra then explains her backstory. She was a mercenary on a mission in South America. While there, she had a fling with an American agent that resulted in her pregnancy. The child is the same one that she is convicted of killing. The American agent was Doc Samson. The child was Ricky Myers. Sandra goes on to explain that the 2 Rickies that were killed were duplicates and that home base has the real one, or they claim to have the real one at least. This resulted in her being blackmailed into joining their cause by promising a family reunion in exchange for the Hulk.
So why exactly does home base need the Hulk? Well, even though they have the ability to resurrect the recently dead, there's still some flaws. Case in point, the bullet hole that's still in the middle of Sandra Vertigo's forehead. And, well, with the Hulk's regenerative abilities, they could create their own army of super gamma-powered assassins.
Sandra explains that she was blindfolded, so she doesn't know where home base is. But she managed to swipe an encrypted disk from Slater, who is out on the revenge trail and already killed 2 other home base agents. The one drawback is that using the disk will clue in to Slater on their location, as it's keyed to his laptop. Banner agrees to help Sandra, and she opens up the disc. They turn up info on the 2 agents that Slater just killed. Turns out one of them was carrying a newly designed Hulk-busting gun. Sure enough, Slater arrives at that moment to crash the party. Sandra reveals that she rigged the cabin's cellar with explosives, and all she needs to do is push the detonator to kill all of them, including Banner. Knowing that the only way for Banner to survive is to be turned into the Hulk, Slater shoots a bullet through Sandra and into Banner. Before he can stop Sandra from pushing the detonator, however, Slater's gun jams, allowing her to start the explosion. Sandra's last message to Banner is to find the real Ricky Myers. Hours later, Banner returns to the remains of the cabin where he buries Sandra and Slater's bodies. However, not too long after he leaves, a hand emerges from one of the graves.
And so concludes The Incredible Hulk, Return of the Monster. How was it? Well, to be honest, I think it's pretty good. It's a good suspenseful storytelling that seems to have a lot of good layers, at least the early part of it. And there's some really great artwork throughout this. And I think this would also make a really good jumping on point. It's not overly bogged down in continuity, so you don't need to understand everything except for who the Hulk is and why he's now on the run. Not to mention, this did prove to be a little bit influential, as in the 2008 Incredible Hulk movie, they actually incorporate ideas like Mr. Blue and Bruce trying to harness his transformations via meditation. That being said, this book is not perfect. Like I said before, there is a decided lack of the Incredible Hulk in the Incredible Hulk. And if you're up for some good old-fashioned Hulk smashing action, yeah, you're gonna need to look elsewhere, obviously. Also, is it me or does Home Base seem to have a lot of agents? I mean, the leader of Home Base just must have so many people at his disposal, because he sends Vertigo and Slater, and then he sends the other two out, and then he sends two more out, and then he sends two more out, and it's just like, okay, what's going on there? But that last bit's kind of a minor quibble. I'm going to give The Incredible Hulk: Return of the Monster a B. And with that, let's see what we'll be doing next time on the Random Trade Review.
Remember, you can help support my work at patreon.com/sleepytimeforcatproductions, where you can request a trade be placed in the randomizer, aka the cardboard box.